Ron Magill was not able to make it with us yesterday. He lost track of time because an assortment of animal calamities were happening, as they often are in Ron Magill's life. What was happening, Ron, that you couldn't join us yesterday?
Oh, we had a couple of Cuban crocodiles that actually had consumed some trash that the public threw into their habitat, and they had to be sent over to the hospital right away so we can x-ray them to see what was in their belly and then to scope it and to try to get the stuff out of their belly before it caused an obstruction that could lead to their death. So it was one of those situations, and then I got all caught up and I didn't realize the time, and then by the time I saw the time, it was too late, and I couldn't get back to you because I don't get any reception in the animal hospital, and I felt terrible.
Isn't there? That's not why I'm asking you. Wasn't there something with an eagle as well? I'm just trying.
The eagle, yes. As a matter of fact, Rita, the eagle, she had to have, part of her wing amputated. It had gotten infected. That was the famous Rita eagle that, was covered on the eagle cam for last year. It raised her chicks and unfortunately had that tragic, horrific accident where she had her wing so terribly mangled. And we ended up having to amputate, a significant part of that wing yesterday.
Ron, what distinguishes a crocodile from a Cuban crocodile? What is particular about the Cuban crocodile?
Gold chains.
Okay, I will tell you the Cuban crocodile, and I've worked with many different species of crocodiles. Pound for pound, the Cuban crocodile is the most aggressive and, to me, the most dangerous of all the crocodiles. Right. I have seen Cuban crocodiles jump out of water like a flipping killer whale. I mean, you wouldn't believe to see how high in the air those things can jump. So they are really, they literally fly. I've seen them go parallel to the ground, jump out like super crocs, and they're 4 feet off the ground, horizontal, flying at you.
Dale.
Un cocodrilo cubano is number one. There's nothing better than a Cuban crocodile. I can promise you that. And they say acere too at the end.
What happened, Tony? You seem like you choked on your first words there.
No, I saw Ron going to say something, so I didn't want to do the Chris Cote where he says something and I say something at the same time, but
you saved it.
Thank you. Acere.
Ron, Rita seems like she's been a lot, huh?
Rita has been through a lot. It's been a tough time, guys. The fact that she's never going to be able to be in the wild again is a tough nut to swallow. The fact that she's still not out of the woods, that wing the infection has been fighting us, and we've been trying to fight it. So she's still not out of the woods, but we're giving it everything we've got.
I think it's a tough pill to swallow.
Tough nut to crack is what you.
Yeah. I'm a little confused right now, so I apologize.
You need to. I don't know if any of you have seen the jumping crocodiles. I don't know what used to be the attraction, if they still do this in Florida, where they put chickens on a wire, and these crocodiles, they have to be the Cuban ones, are jumping 5 and you said 4 feet, but it seems like it's even higher than that.
And those are actually other crocodiles. Those are Nile crocodiles and American crocodiles. All crocodiles can jump, but not with the incredible ability and speed and height that Cuban crocodiles can jump. It's like all humans can jump, and then you got, Michael Jordan.
What makes a Cuban crocodile jump? When the temperature gets below 60?
No. Cuban crocodile jumps in aggression to defend territory, to defend its nest, or to get food. That's what makes them jump. I got that joke.
Does it throw its two arms up in the air and say, "What's up, bro? What's up, bro?" when someone tries to approach their girl?
Mira cómo se joden esta gente.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ron, it's a family party.
What's up, bro?
The trash that you speak of, how often does that happen at the zoo where people
Too damn often, Dan. Too damn often. I am sick and tired. It gets to the point sometimes where I almost hate people when I see how stupid they are. We have taken everything from cell phones to freaking little, I don't know what you call them in Spanish, in English, the little sucker things that you put in babies' mouths.
Pacifiers.
Pacifiers, yeah. Those. Tetes, yeah, that's that thing. We take them all out of, we've gotten so many things out of animal stomachs, you cannot believe it.
The strangest thing that you've gotten out of an animal's stomach?
It was a Power Ranger toy. Power Ranger.
Oh. What color?
Blue.
The Blue Ranger. Yeah.
You would hate humans, though, for the amount of inconvenience they cause with just inconsideration. It's just, but those are kids throwing things, right? That's a blue Power Ranger. I don't think that's anything other than kids being invited to the zoo.
Cell phone seems like an accident too.
It was never done with malice. But first of all, parents got to watch their kids to make sure they're not doing this kind of stuff. And second, we just got to educate people and make them understand. Listen, if an animal is sleeping on an exhibit, throwing something at it is not going to make it a better animal to look at. and a lot of it is by accident. In our alligator exhibit, for instance, we've taken things out of alligators' bellies. It's because people lean over to try to look at them and they drop things in. I'm sure people didn't want to throw their cell phone at an alligator, yet we took a cell phone out of an alligator's stomach.
I mean, but isn't the best way for an alligator to learn not to eat those things to eat one and then go through the pain of having to poop it out? Like, the stove where you're like, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. And then a kid touches the stove and then they learn not to eat it again. Seems like you're babying these animals a little bit.
Listen, Billy, an alligator of 12 feet has a brain the size of a walnut. It's very limited hard drive space there. Their activity is based on instinct. When something drops next to them in the water, they instinctively go at it thinking it's an animal that fell in there, because if they take time to think about it, if it is indeed an animal, the animal's going to get away.
I've got a lot of questions, Ron, from the animal kingdom this week, because I think it was last week, the Dallas Zoo issued a code blue. I don't know how many codes there are. I don't know what the codes mean or if they go from zoo to zoo, but it was a non-dangerous clouded leopard that was out of its habitat. Is the code blue a zoo phrase of some sort, or are there different codes?
It's a zoo phrase. It means escaped animal, missing animal.
How many codes are there?
Oh, God, there's like 5. There's code red, there's code orange, there's code black, there's code blue.
What do they all mean?
Black is a dead animal. Orange is a sick animal. Blue is an escaped animal. I forget the rest.
The code blue, non-dangerous clouded leopard, it doesn't seem to me that a clouded leopard out of its habitat would be non-dangerous. What's non-dangerous about that?
Well, a clouded leopard is a relatively small leopard. It's not an aggressive cat. Having said that, it does have the longest canine teeth of any cat relative to its size, so it's kind of like the modern-day saber-toothed tiger. But it's a cat that feeds on birds and small mammals. It's an Asiatic cat. It's a shy cat. This is not like having a lion or a tiger, or mountain lion escape. This is an animal that's going to avoid humans pretty much at all costs. It's not going to be an animal that's going to attack anybody. So that's when they look at it as non-dangerous. Having said that, if you corner one and try to grab one, it put a hurt into you.
I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to ask you about this as soon as I saw it a couple of weeks ago. A killer whale was beached on a Florida shore. It's the first time that's ever been recorded. The photos are stunning. How does this happen? Is this the world changing?
Well, I guess, the immediate response would be it's going to be, attributed to climate change. The animals' migration patterns, their movement patterns are changing. I saw that same video of this killer whale washed up on the beach, and it was shocking to me. It's never been seen before here like that. So it is an indicator. Now, on the flip side, it could have just been a very sick whale that was disoriented and going out and out of a different direction. There's a lot of reasons. It's all pure speculation. I mean, the climate, the climate scientists are going to say, oh, look, this is what climate change is doing, which is very possible. But at the same time, it could have very well also just been a sick animal that just ventured way off course and ended up there on the beach.
How about the 7 dead whales washing up on the Jersey Shore?
Again, I'm not going to attribute that to anything specific that I know of. It'd all be speculation.
Could be Fat Tuesdays.
Everything that lives is going to one day die. Sometimes when they show up on the beach, that raises eyebrows. But whales die out in the ocean every day. Most of them get consumed by sharks or other types of scavengers out in the ocean. Sometimes they die closer to shore and they make it on shore, and it becomes a big thing because people can see it. But it's pure speculation. Until they do a necropsy, until they study the animal, they don't really know why it died. And many times, even after the necropsy, they don't have any definitive answers. There's a lot of mysteries in the animal kingdom.
What do you make of dolphins reappearing in the Bronx River?
Yeah, well, that certainly could be part of a climate change thing. This is as things have gotten, the seas have gotten warmer going north, you're going to have animals that are normally found in more, subtropical waters, maybe venturing further north. I think you're going to start seeing that with land animals too. We talk about our iguanas and our pythons here in Florida. Trust me, you remember when I said about 10 years ago that they're going to have coyotes in Miami, and everybody kind of laughed at me. And hence, here we have coyotes in Miami. Well, 10 years from now, don't be surprised to have iguanas and pythons in Georgia.
Ron, Zoo Miami lost their Harris hawk because it got into a run-in with a wild animal. What are the protocols that goes into protecting a captive animal at the zoo?
Roy, that was not Zoo Miami. Zoo Miami did not.
I said Zoo Atlanta.
Wow. Oh, Zoo Atlanta. Okay. Listen, it's impossible to guarantee that there's never going to be any kind of conflict. What happens is a lot of times we have animals that can breach an enclosure, breach a habitat, and pose a threat to the animal that is residing on that habitat. I don't know exactly what happened to that Harris hawk in Atlanta. I didn't hear any specifics about it, but I do know that it is not unheard of for animals in a zoo collection to be injured or even killed by native animals or other animals within the collection. Again, this is something that happens every day in the wild. The trouble is, zoological institutions are under microscopes many times. So when you hear something, the credit to the zoo is that they tell you what happens. It's different if you're trying to hide something. I think it's important for all of us working with animals that we're totally transparent. When something happens, we need to let people know that it happens. Hopefully we can learn if there were any mistakes made so it doesn't happen again. But I'm totally against these people. Don't talk about it. Don't release it. Listen, this stuff happens every day in the wild. And sometimes a lot more cruel than it is in under human care. So we need to understand that, guys. The fact of the matter is that animals in zoological institutions, generally speaking, live much longer lives than they would in the wild because they're protected from predation. They get a fair amount of nutrition. They get good veterinary care, things they don't have all the time in the wild.
Ron, I'm a big nature documentary guy. I was watching something on Yellowstone and the national park out there. Can you talk about bisons and how dangerous they really are to people?
Super dangerous. I mean, people look at them and they think, oh, they look like big, small, furry cattle. They're not. And there's a trillion videos on YouTube of people who are just not very smart, going up, they want to get a closer picture or they want to take a selfie. And all of a sudden, this big lumbering animal turns into a freaking cheetah. It jumps and runs like it's made out of styrofoam and it launches a person up in the air like they're made out of balsa wood. And people go, oh my God, what happened there? It's a wild animal. I've been to Yellowstone many times, and there's signs all over the place. These are wild animals. Don't get close to them. Can people no longer read? Has common sense not become common anymore? I see it here in Florida, down here in Shark Valley. I can't tell you how many tourists I see at this time of year taking selfies, turning their backs to alligators, sunning themselves on the shoreline there in Shark Valley, thinking, I want to take a selfie because I want to get a bunch of likes on my social media. Oh, my God. Stop it, people. Stop it.
Ron, I recently learned, and I should have known this before, that every tiger has its unique set of stripes. It's like a fingerprint. No two tigers have the same stripes, right? So, right. In watching the Bengals play, I've been more and more annoyed by the fact that the helmets are all exactly the same pattern. They're not unique patterns.
Yes.
Are there things in sports that bother you like that are like easily correctable things that would be more accurate to the animals that are portrayed by these teams?
Billy, you're freaking brilliant. You really are. I mean, you come up with the greatest questions and comments of anyone who's ever interviewed me.
It's such an easy fix. You just have unique stripe patterns.
No, it's not an easy fix. It's a costly fix because they got to change the pattern for every helmet, and it just is. It doesn't make financial sense. It's not.
But he's asking you the team that gets it most wrong or most inaccurate with the way it's depicting the animal kingdom.
Geez, I don't know. The Eagles do a good job. Eagles can be, but they can be just scavengers too. They don't have to be that great and aggressive.
No, Eagles are useless. You've said it before.
And I never said they were useless, Dan. I never said
buzzards.
They were useless.
You said they were buzzards.
I said that the bald eagle could be a vulture with a good PR agent. They're scavengers. Okay, they can hunt, but they will scavenge if that's the easier option.
It's not a compliment to be known as the eagle.
Yeah.
No, it
just feels like
if you're a harpy eagle, if you're known as the eagle and you're talking about the bald eagle,
get over it,
with the harpy eagle.
But if it's a harpy eagle, no.
With the harpy eagle.
Badass.
What about the golden eagle?
We're so tired of the harpy eagle.
Not a single team called the
Philadelphia
Harpy
Eagles.
Okay,
whatever.
Screaming eagles.
And they're ugly, by the way.
My God, really? Is this what this has come to? Guys, the bears, okay? The bears could be, if it's a grizzly bear, sow protecting your cubs, that's a badass animal. If it's a little Florida black bear male just kind of eating wildflowers, well, that's not so badass. It depends. They're not defining what kind of bear it is. So you got to assume it's going to be more of the larger, more impressive bear. The lions, well, lions, generally speaking, sleep 20 hours a day, okay? But if it's the 4 hours that they're playing a game, they're badass.
Couple of things. How do you feel about, was it Kylie Jenner who showed up at a fashion event with a full lion's head on her shoulder?
And someone else was wearing the same outfit, too.
Look, let me tell you something about it. The Jenners, the Kardashians, the whole lot of them. they could all just disappear for all I care. They had made not one single contribution to human society. And for me, the fact that they have all these followers and they make all this money just by mentioning things is a sad reflection on where this world is today.
Did you see Doja Cat? She doesn't have eyebrows, and I don't like this trend. We don't need to dye the eyebrows blonde. We don't need to shave them. There was nothing wrong with eyebrows. Do you agree?
I wholeheartedly agree. As a matter of fact, I think today.
Thank you.
Number
what? Is Julia Fox going to be angry? I'm sorry.
Too much information here, but we're shaving way too much today.
Way too.
Yes.
Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, at Le Batard Show. Are we shaving way too much today?
Way too much, okay? But I mean, these people that are into all the shaving stuff, I don't want to even go there, but...
That's a Cuban crocodile right there.
When I'm with a woman, I want to know she's a woman.
Oh, wait a minute. What just happened?
Cuban crocodile, Dano.
Shout out to Dollar Shave Club.
I've got a couple of backup questions here because PETA is asking the University of Georgia for the second straight year to stop harassing their bulldog by having him on the field, disorienting him. They don't think it's nice to have the bulldog, an animal, in 100,000 crazy people. Your thoughts there are what?
It depends on the bulldog. Domestic dogs can love being around crowds. It's one thing if you're keeping it in excessive heat or excessive cold, but domestic dogs love people. That's why they're domesticated. So I think unless there are some obvious indications of stress in the dog, he may very well enjoy being around those people. It's different than having, a wild animal. The bulldog is a domestic dog over hundreds if not thousands of years domesticated, and that dog, since it was a puppy, has been acclimated to these crowds. And unless it's being overheated, unless it's being kept too cold, unless it's not being provided water, if it's being provided all these things and is comfortable, and most of the time I see that bulldog, he's just kind of totally laid out, totally relaxed. So, I believe, again, extremism in any form is dangerous. So take that for what it's worth.
I have said before that I believe that Planet Earth is the single best television show I have ever seen because of what they get for footage and what it is that I learn all the time. And
they had the best commentator on the planet also. I
thought that the mating dance of the bird of paradise was the most amazing thing I had seen from animals in the mating realm, but I couldn't believe the other day, Ron, when I saw a fish that I did not believe had this kind of brain power working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with sand and rocks and ornaments to create a work of art that was unbelievable in its specificity and also proportional at every turn. It looked like it had been drawn by a computer. I did not know a fish had the brain power to create a work of art with the sand over a week that would look like it was made by humans. I don't know how amazed you are by this, but I simply did not know that fish could have that brain power.
It's not as much a brain power in the sense that it knows necessarily. It's an instinct. It's a chip. They're like they hatch out with a chip in their brain that instinctively does that. It's like the different dances of the different birds. And I'm amazed by nature every day, yet not amazed because through my experience, this is why I'm so in love with wildlife, so in love with animals, and so, willing to share this with everybody because it's amazing. You talked about the bird of paradise dance. Look at the mannequin dance. The mannequin dance is even better, I think, in my opinion.
How do you spell it?
What it does. The mannequin. It's a bird. Watch the dance of the mannequin. It is beyond belief what it does with its feathers and the way it structures its feathers to make it look like eyes and no eyes and upside down and does this little, it does all this little strutting on a stick. Check it up. There's got to be a great YouTube of a mannequin mating dance.
Are you guys not amazed by a fish doing this? I'm talking about it looked like it had been done with tools and equipment to make everything proportional, like with sand, that if a wave would have come at any point in that week and destroyed the whole thing, but it made a work of art in the sand that took a week to make. And it was
because it's got to attract the mate. It's got to show the mate that he is worthy. And that's what he does. That's what he does.
When a fish talks on an iPhone, I'll be impressed,
Ron, good seeing you. Thank you. Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, at Le Batard Show. Will you not be impressed by fish until they talk on an iPhone? Good talking to you, Ron.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Chris Cote.
Jessica.
I want to close the loop on a segment that you did like 4 years ago.
Love a good closing of a loop.
Wow.
So you went to a comedy show. Do you remember ever going to a Nikki Glaser show with your wife?
And I sat right next to a fan.
Next to a LeBatard Show fan, and he was on a first date. And then the next day you came into the show.
And I ridiculed him for going on a first date to a comedy show.
Exactly. So as it turns out in this small world, that guy is a friend of a friend. And I met him a week ago. We had dinner.
What?
And that guy said,
great guy.
You know, one of the coolest things his name's Ben. Shout out Ben. He said, one of the coolest things that ever happened was I went to a comedy show with, on a first date. And I pointed to Chris Cote and I said, I have a child. And then they ended up sitting me next to him. And then the next day. A little
awkward when you have an interaction with somebody and then you get sat right next to them.
He said the same thing. And then the next day on the show, Chris Cote started a segment by saying taking a first date to a comedy show is a really bad idea.
Did they end up together?
Yeah, no, they broke up. Oh. So that's why I'm closing the loop to tell you you were absolutely right.
Put the imaging, Mike. Holy shit. Chris was right. All right, moving on.
We don't really have that imaging.
This hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
I could say Chris Cote.
Did they date for a long time?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
Double right.
I mean, I was right though, right? Would you ever bring?
Right.
Would you ever bring a first date? It's a weird, a great date spot. Bad first date spot.
I'd be horrible at dating though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know where to go, what to do.
Also, the fear that someone's going to TikTok about your first date when they get home. That's a thing no one had to think about 5 years ago. I go on TikTok all the time and it's like, I just went on a date with blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, my head's spinning. If this were me, pressure of TikToking about your date.
I've said this before that I'm jealous that I never got to do swiping. Like I never was dating on apps.
Wow, you never swiped?
And I've said before that I want there to be an app for just making friends, like a guy friend or a girl.
Like that.
Like that's what I mean. They actually do have, because I just want to be able to swipe and be like, no, this person looks cool.
No, Bumble has a Bumble for Friends type thing.
But I feel like that wouldn't. I feel like that. But I feel like that wouldn't fly with my wife. Hey, I'm on Bumble now, but just for
Bumble
platonic friends.
Just for friends, right?
Beta Bumble friends.
I was thinking this weekend, and you guys tell me what you think. It could absolutely never happen, but I was thinking about this, right? I wish that there wasn't this stigma of going to a hotel and renting a room, assuming that there's adultery going on there. I wish that I could just go.
It's not the assumption.
No. If I go and I check into a hotel room,
depends on the hotel.
My family will be like, "Why are you checking into a hotel room? There's adultery going on there," which is nothing. Well, I want to set up a situation where I can just go and rent a hotel room just to take a nap.
Yeah.
Just to quietly take a nap where there's not anything going on. I could just go get a nice bed. But that's the other thing. I can't do an hourly thing because that's super seedy. But I wish I could just there was a nice hotel you could go to. I just want the room for 3 hours. I just want to take a nap.
You should get a nap house. Dan has one.
Yeah.
You have a nap house?
Yeah, he's got 2 nap houses, one on each coast.
Wow.
Really?
You should do what I do when you go to check into a hotel. When I go to check in, I'm like, hey, I'd like to check in. It's not for cheating.
But haven't you guys ever thought
no, you should. If you say that, they believe you.
They won't.
That's true.
You guys have families. You guys have children. You guys have just noise constantly going on at home. Haven't you ever thought, man, I wish I could just take a good nap. I can't take a nap here.
You don't
I wish there was a place.
In your house and say, hey, it's quiet time. Daddy's taking a nap.
Yeah. Billy wants to be an empty nester already. I mean,
Billy, do you take better naps in hotels than at your own house?
I don't take naps anymore. I haven't napped in probably 3 years.
Because I find hotel naps not that comfortable. It takes me a while to find the right nooks and crannies in a hotel bed. Yeah.
Sometimes on vacation, we'll go to a tropical place. It'll be a beach getaway at the hotel. And it's oh, let's go to the beach. Let's go to and it's can I just nap? Can I just stay in the room and nap a little
Billy,
bit?
It just seems like you just want, it doesn't even need to be a hotel. Can I have a place where I can go to just be quarantined away from my family and the noise and the responsibilities and all of it? It doesn't even have to involve sleep. I'm going to make it about sleep so I don't have to make it about I need 2 minutes of quiet.
No, it has to be sleep. There have to be no TVs or what? REM?
Important question. Is it REM sleep or no?
I need to not have TVs though. I need to not have phone service so that I can't get distracted. This needs to be just go in there and take a nap.
I don't understand what you're doing though, where you're assuming that if you check into a hotel, your family's watching.
Well,
yeah, I don't understand that either.
They see the transaction.
I mean, why do they have access to your bank account?
Well, someone would.
Joint bank account.
Maybe someone's like, "Hey, I saw Billy checking into a hotel."
Would you guys?
He cheating?
Well, that's okay.
No, because he said when he checked in, it wasn't
location services.
No. But let me ask you guys something. Married, people with lots of noise. Would any of you just randomly check into a hotel in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week? No.
Yeah,
Never.
if I
Sounds,
said not
sounds
for
like
cheating.
cheating.
No. See, that's what I'm
what you
You have
saying.
to say it on the front end, Bill.
Adultery ruined the nap
You got to
industry.
get your kid in daycare, man. Once you get
She's
your
in
kid in
daycare, but like half days at little kid age, and it's like, geez, Louise, you know.
get that full day going.
Yeah,
man.
start getting the full day.
Oh, once you get that full day going, it opens up for you, my friend.
Yeah. The nap schedule opens up.
Well, but I mean, I have
I nap Billy.
Yeah.
I nap every single day for multiple
Enjoy it.
hours.
Enjoy it while you
This is
can.
why the prospect of having children, like
Enjoy it while you're
everything
young.
I hear from people your age and up, just sounds less and less attractive.
Well, it's like
to
my
me.
biological child, and it's Stugotz too, because we're recording God Bless Well around the clock. It's like 1:30, 2,
Always at nap
2:30.
time,
There's
yeah.
always something going on.
If you ever have kids, you'll be excited to know that for 3 years, all you'll be doing is napping. Yeah. There's no actual full nights of sleep.
Yeah, see that I do the 10-hour night sleep plus the 3-hour nap.
What?
I'm always
That's too
asleep.
much.
Ten?
What are you
way
like a
too much.
koala?
Yeah.
I wish.
I'm trying to figure out, though, Billy, if before you get to the hypothetical creation of a nap hotel, you're already fearing getting caught cheating.
I'm not cheating. That's what I'm saying. I and there's a stigma against just sleeping.
I believe you because you said that you're not.
Right.
I also think that like you have the right personality to not be accused of cheating, because I think you'd just be like, it would be too exhausting.
Yeah,
it would
I
be too
can't do
exhausting.
that.
Like I can't
wouldn't
do
be
that.
able to
keep
I
it up,
can't burn the
honestly.
calories
Too many
on
things.
cheating.
I can barely live
Too
my
much
regular
energy,
life.
yeah.
Imagine a
What up?
secret life at the
Having
same
one
time.
relationship's hard enough. I can't imagine having multiple at once.
Isn't that one of the things in the Stephen A. Smith book that gets revealed? That
Oh,
he-
spoiler alert! I haven't gotten there yet. It just
The book club
arrived.
has not
Jeez.
gotten around to it.
a
It's
secret
God.
family.
I'm still on Spare by Prince Harry.
He has a secret family? Is that what you just said?
Not he has a secret family. His past includes his biography includes.
What chapter is that? So I can just skip it at this point.
the temerity.
I think Bartolo Colon also had a secret family.
That one I think is true too. Chris, I ran
I
a
bet
Google.
he didn't say he wasn't
You'll
cheating.
be happy to know I found something called Adult Friend Finder.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'll get on it.
I wanted to ask you something, Stugotz, because this kind of escaped the news stream, it felt like to me. In all of the discussion about Ime Udoka and everything that happened with him going from coaching in the championship as rising a hot coach as there is, Celtics reveal that he's leaving for a year and he has not worked since. And I thought a little quietly, Nia Long, his ex-wife, addressed the situation this way, according to the Hollywood Reporter. And she said, I think the most heartbreaking thing about all of this was seeing my son's face when the Boston Celtics organization decided to make a very private situation public. It was devastating, and it still is. If you're in the business of protecting women, I'm sorry. No one from the Celtics organization has even called to see if I'm okay, to see if my children are okay. It's very disappointing. And when I read that, I'm like, oh, I hadn't considered that. But how could they have done this and respected her and her family's privacy? How do you explain our coach is leaving for a year, and you can maybe say personal matters, but somebody's going to get that story, right? You have to fear that story, if you make it personal matters, what do you do if you're the Celtics? Because she's blaming the Celtics for embarrassing her publicly when this could have been quieter.
Could have been handled privately, yep.
But could it have been, is what I'm asking you. What she's requesting there, could it have been?
I think if the public stance from the Celtics was a joint statement with Ime Udoka saying that he will not be coaching this year due to personal matters and respect their privacy at this time, at least front-facing, you can't blame them the way that she is right now, presently.
You can't expect them to call and check in on her?
But there were
that's a
victims
pretty-
involved that
yeah.
they had to side with. Like, you can't side with the coach who's doing things to other people in your organization.
That's a fair criticism, though, and probably, and until Dan mentioned it, not something that I had considered, which is what about their family and how they want the messaging to go over there. Can someone at least reach out to the family and discuss what their strategy is so the family can at least prepare for it. I think that's a fair criticism, and maybe if the Celtics could do it over again after hearing that, might do it differently.
It certainly doesn't seem like what they did was the right thing, no matter how you look at it, right? Like leaked media reports, that's not the right way for her to find out. And I don't know who is to blame, whether, Ime's doing the leaking or his agent or whatever, but certainly they knew something was going on and she wasn't a part of any of it, which is, I think, probably her point, more so than, reporters will probably find out the story eventually when he does leave or take a leave of absence or get fired, whatever. But regardless, they just didn't handle it well at all initially.
Yeah. She'd expect that from reporters. She expected she'd hold the Celtics to a higher standard and was disappointed by that, and I think that's reasonable.
Well, one of the things, though, that I'm finding interesting about this, because this is a pretty devastating hurt, right? This woman has lived in Hollywood under public scrutiny for a long time, and she's talking about something any parent can understand. This playing out in front of your children, how this hurts already a million different ways, but then you also have the added indignity, and there are many indignities here, but you have the added indignity of, I can't protect my children, and now I'm blaming the organization with a viewpoint that I haven't heard very much in public, and it makes me wonder if the audience has considered whether the Boston Celtics have any responsibility here to the collateral damage of people who aren't their employee, because this is such a giant shame. Imagine learning about all of this, however it is she learned about it, having your family learn about it on television with a public shame. And she's saying the organization needs to do better by me, and I don't feel like that has been heard. I don't think that that's gotten an iota of the coverage that the scandal did, that she's saying, hey, couldn't the Celtics have done this better? And we gossiped about the scandal and we talked about how could all of this be and the salacious elements. But when she's saying, well, are you trying to protect women here or not? And the organization would say, well, what about the women in our organization that we have more responsibility to than our coach's wife?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that her point is wrong. I actually think there is an obligation from the organization to look, especially in something as tricky as this, in a serious situation, to care about the extended family, to care about the wife, the kids, how this is presented. Are they comfortable with it? It's tricky because I understand the other side of it, but there should be an obligation, a moral obligation from the organization to care about that man's family.
But you're letting him go. Like you've made the decision. You've talked to your lawyers. You've gone through a whole process. You've decided this person's not going to. This is a fired employee now. Essentially,
he's suspended clearly with a view towards eventually ending that contract. But you're announcing a suspension. When you announce a suspension for anything else, you say this person is suspended for violating such and such policy. And if you are vague, then the media will go and find out why. And really, I think the Celtics gave up some information. I think the initial reporting, it was like, it wasn't said what he did. It was just, he's being suspended for a year. Joe Mazzulla is the coach.
Yeah, but you can't. But if you do it that way, Whittingham, you're just inviting a million questions.
Right, I think you can't just shrug your shoulders and say, I don't know, he's being suspended.
But I think that what she's requesting is either discretion or camouflage, like, can my husband take a leave for a year? Something that is more muddled than the thing that's going to invite this shame upon the entirety of the kids in the family.
But then it partially looks like they're covering up for him.
Correct.
And
they would never do it for a player.
And they still, by the way, haven't released all the details of what he actually did. We've just heard it was really bad, what was going on there.
And there's like more to it even than just, adultery with an employee of the organization, right? There have been sort of hints and suggestions that this is not a one-time only thing or about just this one thing.
Nothing that has been pinned down. You hear in these circles, you hear all sorts of stories now, which the family is also subject to, because This was a partial revelation. It wasn't a total revelation. And now it becomes internet gossip and whatever it is that the kids are getting at school. And forgive me, I made a mistake. They were not married. She is or was his fiance, but she is saying publicly, the organization did not protect me. And I don't feel people are hearing that or caring. Am I wrong? Because they care about this woman. There was plenty of gossip and clucking about how could you do this to this woman, the best among us? Like, how could you be such a man? How could you be just this distinctly, stupidly male?
You weren't just taking naps at those hotels.
That's what I was going to say. So let's say, Dan, you're walking past the Lowe's and you see Billy Gill and he's checking in at the front desk. And he doesn't say, I'm not cheating when he checks in. He doesn't say anything. Are you calling bubbles? How are you dealing with that?
If I secretly see Billy checking into a hotel and he's a little afraid and he looks suspicious
and
because
he doesn't
say the thing you're supposed to say on the front end. Yeah.
And he's immediately assuming that first of all, he would look very suspicious. He would not do this casually. He would not look like Joe Burrow throwing a football before a playoff game. He would be looking around every corner. He would look like someone who is cheating because he's afraid of being seen as cheating.
Well, not.
Well, not.
But you didn't say it.
Yes.
But you didn't say you weren't. So it's
What if I was just getting like a fan or something?
But Billy, you wouldn't just straight.
Not that Lowe's.
Oh.
Billy, you wouldn't just straight check in, to Dan's point. He is right.
I'd probably wear like a Batman mask or something so no one would recognize me.
See you, Gary.